5:30.
I'm glad to hear that.
Let's call this meeting of the Civil Aviation Board for March 2nd, 2022 to order. Ms. Vicki, would you mind doing the roll call?
Sure. Member King?
Here.
Chairman Curtis?
Here.
Vice Chairman Leslie?
Here.
Member Verdal?
Here.
Member Martinez?
Here.
Member Elvis?
Here.
And Mayor Morris?
Here.
Fantastic. Everybody's here tonight. We got a quorum. So anyways, thanks for joining us on this beautiful day. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? And if so, do I have a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes pass. Moving into number 4, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Harris and let him go through these one by one. And all members feel free to ask questions and as we go through it.
Good evening, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, and board members. I'll start off with my briefing with the airport fencing project. It's currently ongoing. There was a couple damages with some utility lines when we were doing the digging. To be honest, no one knows what's underneath the airport, so we hit every utility that comes in the airport, building the fence. But we got everything repaired, and we're moving pretty fast. The estimated completion date is May 17th. We got a lot of the fence up, and they're starting to do where Sky Aviation is and the approach in of runway 12. They're starting to get around there and then doing the backside of the airport.
James, as we're repairing all of those, are we making a map so that somewhere down the road we...
Yes, we're keeping track of where
they are so it
things
doesn't happen
are.
again?
A lot of the stuff was stuff that was old, but it was still live. So we had a gas line by the terminal that we didn't know what went to, and we didn't find out till after it was fixed. It went to the generator. So it's just a lot of stuff out there. No one knows where it is. And I've attached some pictures to it to give you an idea of what we're looking at right now. So the first picture is along the ramp side, in between the terminal and the FBO. And then there's some more pictures around the frontage of the airport. And then there's Mr. Lee Baker closing the gate that was left open accidentally. Next we have the runway 1230 Pappy project. Really no update other than the notice of award has been issued. They've already ordered all of supplies and equipment, and we're just waiting on all the delays and back orders before we can get started on that project. We don't know when they'll get it. We're getting various times from 4 weeks to 6 months. So anytime between there, we'll start. The SelfServe fuel station is, as of February 24th, is operational and working. We're finding that we're having issues with the Jet A pump, which is mainly used by AeroCare. So basically, we're going to close it until Innovative Fueling can come out and fix whatever's going on with it. The 100 low lead is working fine. We had some issues in the beginning. They came out. There was some wiring issues, so they fixed that. Now it's working top notch.
So it'll just be Jet A that you're shutting down?
Yeah, Jet A is, because it's intermittent right now. So we're gonna it's up and people can use it, but if it's not working, then we'll come out and fuel them and won't charge them the call out fee. Since we opened it on the 24th, we've sold 243.4 gallons of Jet A and 319.8 gallons of 100 low lead. And here's pictures. Cannon Aero Club has been our main customer right now, but the word's getting out. We had our first transient Sunday, I believe. So the word's getting out that we got low price self-serve fuel. The Airfield marking project, where we will remark the entire airport with the with lines and signs and everything. It was waiting on the new state price agreement because the old one expired. Now it's been renewed, and again, we're just waiting on supplies for them to start painting. There's no established ETA on that. The airport equipment building, the building itself is fully erected. They're finishing up the trim and the gutters, and they should be done by the end of the week, if not tomorrow, which is the end of the week. Then the doors, they're saying they'll be in about 2 weeks, and they'll be installed. And then the landing for the building itself is going to be erected between the time they're finished with the trim and the doors come in. Pictures. So the building itself is 60 by 100, and we have 5 large bay doors, and we can fit about 2 tractors with implements back to back in one bay. So we'll have a ton of room. We may have a surplus of room, actually. So we got to buy more equipment.
I guess that takes us into the grants and other funding opportunities.
Well, we morphed into that.
So New Mexico DOT has executed 4 of the grants that we went out for this year. One was for the purchase of the lighted X's, new airport terminal seating. We purchased the GPU and the repair of T-hanger, all the T-hanger doors. So those grants are in our hands, and I've placed the orders for everything. So we're just, again, we're waiting on supplies and everything else. On the federal side, again, we've been offered that grant for Taxiway Alpha and Runway 422 resurface. Surface sealing. Now we're pursuing an FAA grant through the airport terminal program that was passed through the infrastructure bill, which they call the BIL, to relocate and rebuild the terminal. The BIL was awarded $20 billion to aviation over the next 5 years, $5 billion being for only terminal projects, so building terminals, rehabbing terminals, adding 2 terminals, everything. The $5 billion is to be distributed over a 5-year period. So we're in competition each year for a portion of the entire $20 billion. Well, really $15 billion, because another 5 of it's for airport-owned air traffic control towers, which we don't have yet. So there's about $10 billion available for other airport infrastructure projects that I will be seeking funding for. Well, I already have, so so I'm looking to continue. I want to get as much out while we can, because money's going to go away in 5 years, and then who knows how we're going to get federal funding. So, well. It's a big competition. So GSE, which is ground support equipment purchases, through New Mexico DOT grants and funding through the city, we were able to acquire additional GSE to help with make the airport more marketable and profitable. One of them was a JetGo 900 series GPU. We ordered 2 aircraft flat tire dollies. There are 2 different kinds. One you can only use for the nose gear, and then the other one you can use on all the wheels. So it's like a car dolly, you know, the little ones that you put the wheel on, but it has this hydraulic system that clamps up and pulls the tire up, so it's not running on the flat tire. We can get it off the runway, taxiway, or whatever. The other one is a lavatory cart for cleaning out the aircraft toilet stuff, you know. The other is an aircraft preheater, so we can hook that up to, if it's a piston engine, we can hook it up to the intake ducts, warm the engine up. There's attachments that we can hook it up to a window, like the pilot's window, and heat up the cockpit, or if the aircraft is equipped, we can hook it up to their heat induct. I don't know what you call it officially, but it's a vent under the aircraft, and it'll blow hot air throughout the aircraft. And then we purchased new chocks and tie-down straps.
Hey, James, I'm just curious, hopefully this isn't redundant. What's the amperage on the GPUs? Amperage output?
28 volts.
Okay. Do you know how many amps? Or do you remember?
I don't remember.
I'm just wondering.
I don't remember. But it's spec'd out for military use also, so it has a switch where I can do, you know, the military side. And
Yeah. Okay.
so we've got estimates for delivery between 4 and 16 weeks on all of the equipment. The heater we actually have already, and one of the flat tire dollies, but we're waiting on everything else.
Hey, James, where do we plan on storing all this GSE? I mean, most of it is gonna be needed right on the ramp. Do we have someplace to store this where it's out of the weather?
Well, for now, it's going to be housed inside the big FBO hangar. Eventually, possibly next year, next fiscal, we're going to build a lean-to on the back side of the FBO hangar where the concrete pad is, and that's going to be our GSE garage.
Is that gonna be enclosed, or is it just simply a lean-to?
No, it's going to be enclosed. It's going to be fully enclosed, and
Okay.
we're going to insulate it.
Okay, good.
Oh, here's pictures of everything we ordered except for the heater. But that's the Jet Pro, and we also ordered some lighted X's now, and the 2 dollies and the lav cart.
And then, James, I assume that you're updating on for flight and so on and so forth, that we provide these services.
Yes, as soon as it comes in, and we're finished with our training, it's going to go right there on ForeFlight and all the other flying apps.
Fantastic.
Terminal Rehab and Relocate project. So as we look at rehabilitating and expanding the current passenger terminal to accommodate the increase in passengers using the airport, the idea was floated that why not just build a new? Because we're trying to continue retrofitting a 1958 building to current standards, and there's, in my opinion, there's room for failure. So we floated the idea through the FAA, and right after we did, the ATP program came out for the airport terminals. So it was kind of perfect timing. So both rehab and rebuilding has its pros and cons. Funding is a big part of the cons to rebuilding, also within rehabbing, but it would provide the biggest benefit to the community to rebuild. So we're working on the grants to rebuild the terminal, but we're also keeping focus on the possibility if we have to just expand the current terminal if the funding falls short.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you recall, we actually had a contract with Decker Parrish Sabatini, the architecture firm, and they were taking a look at what it would potentially take to remodel our existing terminal space. And we had started down that path, and we're working with them and TSA on what that potential conceptual floor plan could look like. Since the FAA has come out with the ATP funding, we've continued those conversations with Decker Parrish, and they have looked at the amount of funding that's still left in that available scope of work. And so there's enough funding still underneath that project for them to basically set aside the remodel, reconstruction of the existing terminal, and then work on concepts for a new terminal building. what that would allow us to do is, of course, as we go for these grants, we'd have a footprint and be able to show what exactly we're wanting to construct. And so we'll be working with them to approve that revised scope of work. Of course, it's not a funding change. It's just revised from going from a remodel to actually a new construction type project, which will then ultimately allow us to configure it for what we need and what the future may look like versus trying to retrofit the existing building. Some of the other, and James, I apologize if I'm going to get into your presentation here, but some of the other benefits we think of building a new terminal is, what is James always talking about wanting? An FBO. And so this, if we have a new terminal space, we could then repurpose the old terminal to an FBO. It also separates the two buildings from the secure facility area from the FBO side, which is non-secured. And so that would be one of the benefits of actually having the two separate facilities themselves. And plus, if we can get this paid, a majority of it paid for through the FAA and get new terminal space out of there and new ramp space, why not? So, James, I apologize for.
Mr. Holwalt, when you said, what is James always wanting? I thought you were going to say another grant.
This would allow him to go after grants for an FBO to remodel one versus having to build one. So.
On the screens is a little diagram I created to help show the FAA and everybody else what I was thinking on locating the terminal. So it's a little remedial, but that's the best I can do with Google Earth and a bunch of squares. So we're going to place it on the north side of the current terminal, facing the parking lot. I won't go into my dreams about what it'll be, but I plan on having solar put on it, also a solar farm out in the field somewhere. That way the airport can get off of the grid a little bit, not rely so much and pay so much into that. So there's programs in the FAA now for efficiency and everything else. So the project, if funded by the FAA, would also include expanding and redoing the parking lot, which will include the roads leading to the parking lot, past the parking lot, and up to the new terminal and FBO.
You're going to have more parking.
Yes, we already need more parking.
Sure.
The employment numbers, I have the ones for January. The ones for February hasn't been released yet. We started off January with 741 employments. Last January, we only had 102. So we're up a little bit from last year. When I get the new numbers for February, then I'll email them out to the board. Aviation fuel sales. For February, we sold 1,799.4 gallons of avgas and 21,965 gallons of Jet A. And for the year, we've sold 40,393.2 gallons total for 2 months. Denver Air, since, when did they start? A week ago? Something like that. It's like 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, they started buying fuel from us exclusively for their Clovis routes. So they get anywhere between 800 and 1,600 gallons a day of fuel. So Airfield has been our neighbors for a while because we got a truck coming in every other day. And then Airfield has finally sent the loaner truck, a 5,000-gallon truck, but it has a leak, so they sent us parts to fix it. I'm sorry. So we got the parts in today at the end of the day, so we got to take apart one of the registers and put the new stuff in, and then it will be operational.
Well, hey, you guys should be qualified at working on field trips.
Fuel pricing has took a hit really bad. Right now, our 100 low lead is $6.41 for full service, and jet is $5.11 for full service. And compared to the region, which includes SelfServe, it's $5.91, the average, and jet is $5.45 average. Nationally, I mean, we're sitting in the same boat, but they, like I said, they include everyone's self-serve. So our self-serve price is $5.16, which is under the average, and $3.86 for Jet A, which is way under the average. That's the end of my report.
And Mr. Chairman, since we were speaking about fuel prices, and I know that at the last board meeting, Commissioner Burns asked regarding whether or not the city of Clovis collects any taxes on the fuel sold. The quick answer is no, we don't. So there's actually taxes that are collected differently on av fuel versus on Jet A fuel. Jet A is gross receipts tax is actually applied, and since it is actually out in the county, and plus we're government, we charge a government rate anyways, which we don't collect. The city doesn't get any gross receipts tax on governmental gross receipts tax rates. So that's would be on the Jet A. On the av fuel, it's the combined fuel tax, which is charged as if you're buying fuel at the pump for a motor vehicle. And so since, once again, that's out in the county, any shared combined fuel tax goes to Curry County for that. So like I said, the quick answer is no, we don't garner any taxes off of the fuel sold at the airport.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions, comments?
James, for the terminal project, is that something that you think could be rolled into maybe doing like a remodel of like what we talked about 2 months ago with the entry, and maybe redesigning the road leading into it? Do you think that could be wrapped into it potentially?
It's too big of a project to wrap that into it, but I am going. That's one of the grants I'm going for the infrastructure.
Okay.
And that's why when you go to the airport now, you'll see how wide the fences are from the road.
Yeah.
Because I want to expand that road and make it look a lot better.
So you think that's something that could be covered by grants as well? Is doing
Yes,
a road project leading
it's in the infrastructure bill.
Okay.
And that's a part of that $10 billion. That's separate from the terminal buildings.
Sweet.
So basically, we have two pot of monies we can pull from, not to mention the regular AIP funding and entitlements that we have. So this is all extra money that's available via the bill.
All right. It's exciting.
Mr. Harris, my wife and I flew in on Denver Air Connection yesterday, and if they could do a better job, I don't know how. The airplane was clean, the airplane was nice, the airplane was fast, the people were great. They even have wonderful snacks. It was a great experience, and we're going to continue to do it. The only thing that I noticed was that my wife and I forever have had TSA pre-check, and we've got spoiled to that. And it'd be nice if the TSA could add that at some point.
That's in talks with TSA about the new terminal space. So the new checkpoint space will be much larger than the one there now. So we'll be able to accommodate more equipment and pre-check.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
And Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would add regarding Denver Air is if I'm not mistaken, I believe the interline agreement with American Airlines was supposed to start today. Isn't that correct?
March 1st. March 1st. Yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yesterday. So,
yeah.
Hopefully now, I haven't checked, but you should be able to book flights directly, obviously, from Clovis through DFW and make any interconnection flight with with an American airline flight, and your baggage and everything else just transfers directly. So, like I said, I haven't checked on it, but I know that in past conversations we've had with Denver Air that was supposed to start March 1st.
And where are we at on the DTS system?
Yeah, and fantastic question. I actually just sent a text to Mr. Rick Masters. They were hoping that, and as well as Denver Air, and conversations that they've had with Washington, that them being in American's interline or having that interline agreement would solve the DTS mystery. So I haven't heard back yet, but Mr. Masters is gonna check for me on that to see if it is showing in DTS now.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
The other day, when I was making reservations, Mr. Howell, I didn't have the American Airlines option, but I had United Airlines option that I could make, and they would take, we wouldn't have, if we were flying United, we didn't have to go through picking up our baggage and moving it ourselves. But that was the only airline that was available the other day for that.
Correct. And so I don't know, even though it went into effect, like I said, March 1st, so I don't know when that hits the system as a whole. But like I said, the last time I spoke with Mr. Coleman it was supposed to start this month.
Well, I think it was in the system, with
Yeah.
United, it was in the system.
Absolutely. And they've had an agreement with United, and that's why that one should
Yep.
show.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, if we could get an update on the rental car situation, either at the airport or downtown, any other takers for providing that service in Clovis?
Unfortunately, not at this time. We had reached out, we had spoken with some national rental car companies, we'd spoken with some local vendors that talked about trying to start a rental car company out there. The issue at the time that we spoke with both of them was fleet and the availability of fleet and trying to stock those. I do believe that, James, have you've spoken with Denver Air too about potential rental car service, because they do provide that through one of their other locations that they serve, and so that may be a possibility too.
Yes, they were waiting on the decision to come down. Also, forgot to tell you, Denver Air has been awarded Clovis from to Denver and Dallas for the next 4 years.
Wonderful.
So that's the only piece they were waiting on. So I'll give them a call and double check on that.
Are there any grant opportunities for the purchase of courtesy cars? And that would be another way that we could provide transportation to people that come in and out.
Well, now we have 2 courtesy cars. We transferred a car they weren't using for the old John Deere tractor. So we have 2 courtesy cars, and they're used quite frequently.
But we are going to continue to work on solving that.
Yeah.
That's great. Have we
Jumping over that
got
hurdle.
any more conversation on shuttle service of any sort? Airport shuttle, Cannon Air Force Base, in town somewhere, that sort of thing? This was a few months ago when we had kind of discussed that briefly, but
Let us follow up on that one as well. Thank you for bringing it.
All right. No more questions, comments. We're going to adjourn until 5:30 p.m. Tuesday, April 5th. Thanks, everybody, for being here.